right, fellers, old Buster's coming to you again. Well, continue on with our marathon. This is old Hired's Invention. Well, Hired come by to see Buster Friday evening, driving his and Paul's wagon with a grater blade on it, and told him to meet him up at the bluff at Tipton Holler in the morning. Well, what you gonna do there? Inquired Buster. It's a surprise for sure, said Hired, grinning. Just be there now. Well, Buster had to be up early to go to town for his and Grandma, so he figured he'd see if and Big Mike and his and brothers wanted to come up to the bluff and see Hired's invention. Well, Big Mike and his and brothers was helping their pa with the invention of their own, making some sort of gizmo for their water wheel down on Big Seeking Creek, but said they would sure enough like to see what old Hired was up to. Well, all them young boys was right smart. Fact is, the whole dang family was knowed for and wide for their ciphering and such. Well, Big Mike's ma even had old Doc Harris consulting her for medicine to see if it was right, proper, and all to give, or something different was needed. She sure knowed about medicine, I tell you. Well, Buster seed the Ferny Hoe and the po' boys over to Swaim's Hardware and hollered over to them. They come aside, foddling over, and asked Buster what all was going on, said howdy, and all of them shook hands, you know. Well, Buster asked all the boys if they'd like to come over to the bluff tomorrow morning and see Hired's invention. Well, heck yeah, said Farrell. It's got to be a good one if Hired thunk it up, said Methuselah. We all be there after chores, said Fergus. We'll bring y'all some fresh honey and biscuits too, said Cousin Bill. Well, Festus said they had some cracklings and bacon grease from the hog they'd butchered, and they would fry up some eggs to go along with them. I'll bring the coffee, says Buster, and get Grandma to fry up some pork chops too. Well, I'll bring along some sorghum molasses we put up with a loaf of Grandma's homemade bread. We got a bunch of sweet rolls and such left over from when Great Aunt Mary was here a couple of days back, says Buster. Grandpa Gus don't quite cotton to sweets, you know, so there's plenty of them. Heck fire, that 5-gallon tin she brung in it is still more than half full. A wonder that is, says Isabel, as much as you like to eat, Buster. Well, all the boys he hauled over that, I'll tell you, 'cause the Buster being knowed to eat his and wait if and you didn't stop it. When Buster got to the bluff on old Dan, Hired was already there with his and Paul's wagon and with his invention in the back covered up with a tarp. Well, Hired said to Buster that he needed to clear out a path from the tree to the edge of the bluff and ask if he'd help him on out to do it. Hold on there, Hired. What in tarnation are you going to do? Queried Buster. You just wait and see, says now Hired. It's a surprise for sure. About that time the Ferny Hoe and the po' boys come up, and Buster told Hired to go on up about what he was a-doing, and him and the boys would clear him out a path. Well, Buster told the Ferny Hoe and po' boys he needed their help to clear out some brush for Hired for his invention, and the boys said that would be just fine with them, and they all took to using the tools Hired had done brung with him in the back of the wagon. Hold up a spell, hollered Buster. Here come the young boys, and they'll sure enough lend us a hand too. But let's get a fire going and eat a bite first and have us some coffee and palaver a spell. Festus said that's a grand idea, and let's eat. Well, Big Mike and his and two brothers, Shiner and Tap, said they had a few victuals with them too, and would throw them in with what Buster and the boys brung. Well, Hired come over to the fire, and all the boys got to asking him what all he was going to do and what was the invention all about. Well, Hired said it's a surprise, but they would seem soon enough if they would clear a path from the tree to the edge of the bluff. What in the world, says Big Mike, you gonna jump off the bluff or shoot off or something, or just what? Well, y'all seen soon enough, says Hired, just hang on. Well, Farrell asked where was Jesse, and Buster said he was ciphering on making the boys some more money in his and Paul's barn, and would meet them all up at Leake's drugstore at the soda fountain later that day, seeing as how it was served, you know. Truth is, says Buster, I'm a-thinking them pheromones of his'n is giving him a fit with the gals. Even the widow woman Jessup is still a-haunting him something fierce. That boy's got himself in a fix for sure, Buster. What you reckon y'all gonna do about it all, says Isabel. Well, I hear tell by the grapevine Miss McBrayer is in a tizzy, and the women folk in her quilting bee and Sunday school class is going to have words with that there woman Jessup, along with the preacher. Well, what about Walter? We ain't seen hide in the hair of the bull for a sparrow. Where's the Peckerwood if he ain't but a trickster, you know? Well, if you ain't heard, his and people done took Walter to Booneville to the TB hospital, and ain't nobody can see him. Not even his and Ma and Pa, 'cause he is contagious. Reckon if he will get well soon, says Big Mike, or can he be cured up? Well, it's all up in the air right now, and it's sure enough a worry for us all, but there ain't nothing we can do about it. We've been a-sending him letters and such, but he is right poorly and ain't a-answering us much. We have to inquire to his and Ma for the most part. Boy, that sure was enough a fine meal, said Buster, as he got up and grabbed a scythe. The rest of the boys gathered up tools and began to cut and brush and grass, when all of a sudden Fergus began to hollering and a cussing. The rest of the Ferny Hole boys and the Poe triplets was a-flapping and a-hollering and a-swatting and a-doing the St. Vitus dance when Tap hollered they was being attacked by hornets. Them hornets was madder than a wet hen, I tell you. They was after all the boys, but Buster and the young boys got back far enough they weren't bothered none by 'em. But they was sure enough eating up both sets of the triplets. Furl run up to help Festus when Fergus went to a-bawling like a calf stuck under the gate. He was a-running around like a chicken with his and haid cut off, I tell you, tears just a-running down his and cheeks and a-banging his and haid. He hollered that hornet was in his and ear and to get it on out. Well, couldn't nobody rightly get to Fergus, and everybody said to run to the creek. Well, Howard stayed up in the tree where it was safe, and Buster told him to stay there. Well, Big Mike grabbed an old soda water bottle with some coal oil in it and covered his and haid with the tarp that was in the wagon, run over and stuck it in the hornet's nest hole that was in the ground. Then he run to the fire and throwed some coals and branches that was burning on the coal oil. Well, the fire took off and was burning the hornet's nest in the hole, and the grass and brush they'd cleared. The smoke and the fire got rid of the hornets, but that was just part of the problem. Fergus still had that hornet in his and ear, and all the Ferny Hole and Poe boys was swole up like a toad frog. Well, I jumped down from the tree and hollered for Buster and Big Mike to help him unload his invention from the wagon. Well, after the wagon was unloaded, they loaded up everybody and hightailed it to town to Doc Harris's office. Well, Fergus was still a caterwauling that there hornet was killing him in his and ear, and the rest of the triplets was a-moaning and a-growing and a-crying to beat off. Well, when they got to Doc Harris, they told him what all happened and told Big Mike, Buster, Howard, and Shiner to hold down Fergus. He had to get that danged hornet out of his and ear. Fergus was a-hollering it was a-stinging him and to please hurry up and get it on out. Well, Doc Harris took some tweezer-looking device and got down in Fergus's ear and grabbed a hold of that there hornet with him still stinging Fergus. Well, Doc got it out, and it still wouldn't date, but not for long now. Then Doc give Fergus a shot, and that eased old Fergus right smart. The rest of the Ferny Hole and Poe boys got shots too and began to feel some better. Well, of course, the folks were called and come to get both sets of the triplets, Festus, Fergus, and Furl, Ferny Hole, and Huzzabell, Cuzzabell, and Methuzzabell Poe. Festus was the one that was cross-eyed, and Fergus cockeyed, and Furl was wall-eyed. The Poe boys is known to have them multiple phalanges, that's 6 fingers on each hand and webbed toes on their feet. Well, Howard said them boys can catch, trap, skin, eat, and wear any kind of critter known to man. They can outrun, outswim, outsmart, pert near whoop any critter too. Well, about a week later, the boys was recovered and made up to meet Howard up on the bluff at Tipton Holler. When they got there was Howard up in the top of the tree in some kind of contraption. Well, Howard hollered down, "Now watch this, boys," and he jumped out of that there tree and started a-flying. He sailed down to the ground and hit it a-running and went over the edge of the bluff along the path the boys had cleared. Well, all the boys looked out over the bluff and seed Howard just a-floating or a-flying, they didn't know which. And him just a-grinning and having himself a high old time. About that time, the contraption caught a updraft and come back towards the bluff. Howard done something to the wings on that contraption, and it come in for a landing where the pass was clear. "Well, don't that beat all?" exclaimed Buster. "You trying to get yourself killed? Howard, what in the world you done? You done made a flying machine." Well, Howard was just a-grinning and shook hands with all the boys, you know. Fergus said it was pert near worth getting hornet stung to see that flying machine flying you out over the bluff. That there is one of them for the books. We was the first to see it, too. Ain't nobody gonna believe us. Wasn't you scared? Asked Tap. Kinda said, Hired, but I just had to fly. Where did you get your ID, Hired? Asked Jesse as he walked up. I seed you take off out of that tree, but didn't think you was gonna make it. But when I seed you get the updraft like the buzzards and hawks, I knowed you was in hog heaven and gonna make it. Well, I've been reading up on flying in the history books and other books and seed that Leonardo da Vinci kite flying in China and the Aztecs all had the general ID, but I just figured how I could improve on what they had done and make it a mite better and make it work. And I done it. Since we done witnessed the first, we are all going to go to Leak Soda Fountain and then to the picture show. I'm buying, said Jesse. What, said Buster? Oh boy, you done figured out how to make some money, ain't you, Jesse? Well, Jesse just grinned and wrapped his arms around the shoulders of Buster and Hired and told him, you know me too well. Old Buster signing out. Y'all have a blessed day now. Thank you.